Let's see how to create a record in the Employees table. After the keyword phrase Insert Into, we must specify the name of the table where we want to add information. Then, within parentheses, we must indicate the column names where data will be inserted. Please pay attention. You don't have to use the names of all 6 columns. You can designate only those in which you would like to insert data. What follows is intuitive. The values keyword succeeded by the same number of data values as the number of columns indicated in the parentheses after the Insert Into statement. Note that the data values should be typed within parentheses too. You are already acquainted with the syntax we just discussed. Now, let's put it into practice. We'll create a record of an individual named John Smith. We'll type Insert Into Employees and then, within parentheses, specify the columns we want to add information into, separating them by a comma. These columns are employee number, birth date, first name, last name, gender, and hire date. Then, after the keyword values, and within parentheses, type the data values that will be part of these columns, again, separating them by a comma. To see the data types of the values you will insert, you must check the data types of this table's fields. You can do this by going to the Information section and looking at the data types in the Columns tab. The employee number is an integer. Then you have 2 date values, 2 varchar values, and an enum. Therefore, as you insert the new records, all values must be written in single quotes besides the employee number. Let's assign the number 999901 and a birth date of the 21st of April, 1986. This record will refer to John Smith, a male who was hired on the 1st of January, 2011. To register this row in the data table, we'll need to execute the insert query. All right, we see that we have 1 row affected. Now, let's select the 10 employees with the largest employee numbers to see if our record will appear there. Awesome! Here he is. John Smith is on the top. Let me comment on this bizarre number, 999901. Obviously, this is not the next consecutive number in our super long list of employees, is it? Remember that using such an employee number is a neat professional trick. When data is being created to test the database system, the value inserted should be quite high. This way, it is obvious where the new data has been placed. For this reason, we saw John Smith on the top of the employees list, with the highest employee number. Usually, database administrators follow the order of columns in terms of the way they appear in a given data table. However, on certain occasions, they prefer inserting data values in a different order. MySQL allows for such types of data insertion. For instance, should we create a data record about Patricia Lawrence, we would insert her birth date first, then her employee number, and then cite the rest of the values in the designated order. Let's see if it works. 100%. The last row we created contains information about Patricia Lawrence. So, please keep in mind that we must put the values in the exact order we have listed the column names. Let's take a look at an interesting feature of the insert syntax. Technically, the first pair of parentheses, along with the column names between them, can be omitted. Only Insert Into, the table name, and the values parts are mandatory. If you omit it in the Values section, you will have to specify as many data values as there are columns in the data table. Furthermore, you will have to add them in the same order in which they appear in the table. For example, If we use this structure and try to create a record in the employees table with only 4 instead of all 6 columns, MySQL will display an error. If we try to add 6 data values to the new record, all of them in the correct order, the query should work fine. Let's check. Insert into, table name, and column names in parentheses. Then comes the new part. You can use a classical select statement to retrieve information from some other table and insert it into this table here. It doesn't have to be the entire table from that other table. By using where, you should be able to set conditions that would refine the data to be copied. Let's see an example. First, check the columns of the departments table. We have 2 columns, department code and department name. So, the next thing to do is create another table called departments duplicate, shortening it to departments_DUP. It will be a replica of the departments table we just saw here. Our task is to import all the data from departments into its duplicate. The code we'll need to create the copy table is create table departments duplicate, open parentheses, department number, char type of 4, not null constraint added, then department name, varchar 40, not null constraint again, close parentheses. Execute, and then refresh the schema section in Workbench. Here we are. The new table has been added to the list. Furthermore, the department number and department name columns are visible too. We will insert into the department number and department name columns from the departments duplicate table everything we can select from the departments table. Please note that since departments contains the same number and type of columns, it is not necessary to add specific conditions to the data retrieved from the table. Hence, the star wildcard character will do the job properly. Right. So, let's run this query. The code was executed with no errors. Let's see if the operation was performed correctly. We see that the newly created departments duplicate table has been filled with information from the departments table